I am the esteemed and virtuous matriarch of the imperial capital. Witnessing my prodigal son return to righteousness as a top scholar, while my illegitimate daughter, whom I have raised single-handedly, is about to wed into a prominent family, and my husband has declared his intention to dismiss the concubines from the inner quarters. I felt as though I had finally reaped the rewards of my hardships. Yet, I suddenly dreamed of my mother, who passed away over 30 years ago, and in the dream, she seized my ear and berated me fiercely. How could a woman of my stature as a time-traveling heroine give birth to such a fool? Do you not realize your son is long dead? This one is the child of your lord husband and his beloved mistress. And that ungrateful illegitimate daughter of yours only covets your dowry. As for your cherished husband, he has already administered a slow-acting poison, biding his time for your demise before he marries the beloved mistress. 01 No, it cannot be so, I exclaimed, jolted awake from a nightmarish reverie. The haunting inquiries of my mother echoed in my ears, and my heart thudded violently against my chest. Cold perspiration drenched my undergarments as I gasped for breath. Madam, what troubles you? Did you have a nightmare? Wang Mama entered, carrying a cup of steaming tea. I scrutinized her wrinkled visage, suddenly recalling her furtive visit to the outer courtyard to meet the lord last month. Her demeanor shrouded in secrecy upon her return. Mama, I slowly straightened, fixing her with a measured gaze. Where is the golden hairpin adorned with a magpie and plum blossom from my storeroom? Wang Mama's hand trembled, the teacup clattering to the ground, her face a mask of terror. I do not know. You do not know? Yet I have learned that your nephew presented a golden hairpin among the betrothal gifts for a certain young lady. I scoffed. That hairpin was a mere gift bestowed upon me when I left my family, one I deemed too antiquated and had left to gather dust in my storeroom, until it was pilfered by you. I had been informed of her misdeeds at the time, but chose to overlook them, for though Wang Mama had been less than virtuous over the years, she had served as my maid since my marriage and had remained unmarried in my service for decades. Witnessing her ashen face, I summoned my head maid, Cui Lu, instructing her to search Wang Mama's quarters. Not long after, the maid returned with a trove of gold and silver ornaments from Wang Mama's room. Take her away and execute her, I pronounced, locking my gaze onto her pallid countenance, each word deliberate. A servant who betrays her master has no place in this world. Wang Mama, paralyzed by fear, suddenly shrieked, Madam, should you treat me thus, the Lord will not spare you. Cui Lu, silence her. I furrowed my brows, meeting Wang Mama's defiant glare with a frigid smile. You are, after all, my servant, and your contract of servitude remains in my possession. To slay my own maid is of no concern to the Lord. The sounds of punishment echoed from the courtyard as I sat composed beneath the corridor, observing Wang Mama endure her fate. Until her last breath, her eyes remained filled with resentment and fury. 02. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to find rest. The treacherous servant was dead, yet the insidious individuals, my ungrateful half-sister, the false mistress posing as my son's consort, remained unharmed. Most importantly, I needed to first rid myself of the poison coursing through my veins. At dawn the following day, I instructed Cui Lu to pack my belongings, announcing I would be visiting my cousin for a few days. Upon arriving at the Zhao residence, my cousin greeted me with warmth. Elder sister, what brings you here? I took her hand, discreetly signaling with my eyes. Recently, I acquired a box of exquisite Hapu pearls and wish to gift them to you, while also seeking your company for a chat. My cousin, astute and perceptive, immediately grasped my intention, dismissing her maid and guiding me into her inner chambers. What has transpired? My expression turned grave. Wanwans, I suspect I have been poisoned. What? My cousin gasped, gripping my hand tightly. Who would dare poison you? Could it be those wretched girls from the Lord's courtyard? None of them. This matter is exceedingly serious. I have come today to have my brother-in-law examine me. My cousin nodded vigorously and dashed out. Shortly thereafter, my brother-in-law, the esteemed Zhao Tai, was hastily summoned. A man of integrity, he wasted no time assessing my condition upon seeing my pallor. His brow furrowed deeper with concern. Elder sister, indeed you have been poisoned. This toxin, if ingested for over 6 months, can lead to a silent death in one's sleep. However, your current state of poisoning is still mild. There is hope for your recovery. How long until the antidote can take effect? I inquired anxiously, looking to Zhao Tai. Fear not, though the poison is rare. The antidote is not difficult to procure. Follow my prescription, and within half a month, you shall be cured, Zhao Tai asserted confidently. I am grateful for your assistance. After he departed, my cousin embraced me, tears streaming down her face. Elder sister, who could wish you such harm? Is it that scoundrel Wang Ke? I nodded, then recounted the dream in which our mother had visited me, omitting the absurd details of her being a time traveler and the notion that this world was merely a narrative. For the next half-month, I resided in my cousin's home, consuming the antidote while secretly investigating the truth. My seemingly virtuous husband, Wang Ke, indeed kept a mistress named Chu Yuling in the bamboo leaf lane, disguising himself as a merchant. They met on the 5th, 15th, and 25th of each month. Neighbors claimed they had resided there for over a decade. 15 years prior, Chu Yuling had indeed been pregnant. Tragically, her child did not survive beyond its first year, and her grief appeared minimal. However, Wang Ke had quarreled fiercely with her over the child's demise, which was buried in a graveyard outside the city. Each year during the Qingming and Zhongyuan festivals, Wang Ke would send someone to burn paper money in remembrance. As I listened to the servants' reports, darkness clouded my vision. The child, my true son. Elder sister, please take care. My cousin quickly supported me. A life once lost cannot return. Wang Ke has schemed for years. Even should we seek vengeance, we must plan meticulously. I understand. I hissed through clenched teeth, gripping my garment tightly, striving to suppress my tears. In the days that followed, I further investigated Chu Yuling's background. She was originally a courtesan, and it was said that the Wang family opposed her becoming a legitimate wife. Thus Wang Ke kept her as a mistress. When asked if she feared the legitimate wife would confront her, Chu Yuling boastfully claimed she was the true wife, a daughter of a prominent family and exceedingly virtuous. Very well, let the pieces fall into place. I discreetly arranged for my child's remains to be retrieved and reinterred, erecting a memorial tablet for him in a temple. That night, I had another dream where our mother sat at my bedside, crossing her legs with a smile. Now this is right, my daughter. How can you allow yourself to be bullied? Upon awakening before dawn, I gazed at the canopy, tears streaming down my cheeks. It was time for certain individuals to pay the price. 03. After residing at my cousin's for nearly half a month, Zhao Tai's remedy had significantly cleared the poison from my system. On the eve of the Dragon Boat Festival, Wang Ke arrived to escort me home. Upon hearing my decision to return, my cousin expressed her concerns. Elder sister, have you truly thought this through? Those matters. Rest assured, I have arranged everything, I replied, a glimmer of resolve in my eyes, my mind already set. Wang Ke, clad in an indigo brocade robe, stood beside the carriage, beaming as I emerged. Madam, I have come to take you home. I cast my gaze downward, offering a slight bow. Thank you for your trouble, my lord. He reached out to assist me, but I feigned ignorance and stepped directly into the carriage. He awkwardly withdrew his hand and followed suit. Your complexion seems to have improved during these days, Wang Ke remarked, scrutinizing me with a flicker of unease in his eyes. Leaning against the carriage wall, I closed my eyes and spoke nonchalantly. The chef at my cousin's is quite skilled. I indulged in quite a few bowls of rice. Wang Ke chuckled awkwardly, his demeanor tense. I heard you dealt with Wang Mama quite severely. Indeed. She stole my golden hairpin to secure a betrothal for her nephew, hence I executed her. I offered a slight smile, feigning composure as I fixed my gaze on him. The Lord is perpetually occupied with affairs of state, yet you seem quite interested in the fate of a mere mama. I was merely curious, a passing inquiry. Wang Ke quickly dismissed, his eyes darting. I turned my face towards the window, my nails digging into my palms. By the time we returned to the Lord's residence, the sun had already set. I meticulously prepared a feast, consisting entirely of dishes favored by Wang Ke. I procured a jar of exquisite golden liquor and had someone invite Wang Ke to my residence for dinner. My lady, how thoughtful of you today, Wang Ke exclaimed, looking somewhat astonished at the lavish spread before him. Having shared many years of camaraderie with the Marquis, I naturally held a deep gratitude towards him. With a gentle smile, I poured a generous cup of the fine golden wine and presented it to him, speaking softly. Today, after your arduous journey to fetch me from my cousin's home, it is only fitting that I reward you handsomely. Wang Ke, trusting and unsuspecting, tilted his head back and drank heartily. As I urged him to drink and savor the dishes, I discreetly added a poison, specially concocted by Dr. Zhao, into his cup. It was colorless and tasteless. Excessive consumption would lead to a stroke. After several rounds of wine, Wang Ke's face flushed crimson, and with a thud, he collapsed onto the table, muttering, Yu Ling. Leaning close to his ear, I whispered softly, "What did you say, my lord?" "Yu Ling," the inebriated Wang Ke replied, following my lead. "Do not worry soon. Soon after Dinglingrong's demise, I shall bring you into the household." I assisted Wang Ke to the couch, suppressing my revulsion as I poured the remainder of the poisoned wine down his throat. The following morning, news of the stroke that befell the Marquis of Yongning, Wang Ke, spread throughout the Marquisate. I feigned sorrow, summoning doctor after doctor, all of whom unanimously declared that the Marquis had overexerted himself, resulting in a stroke that would leave him bedridden for the foreseeable future. After sending off the last physician, I sat by his bedside, wiping the drool from his mouth with a handkerchief. "My lord, do you understand? You have suffered a stroke, and from now on, you must rest in bed." He gasped, his eyes wide, his face contorted. Yes. I smiled gently and produced a piece of paper from my sleeve, unfolding it before his eyes. I found this in the study. It was indeed the marriage certificate he had with Chu Yuling. Upon seeing it, Wang Ke's eyes widened in shock. "I know you wish to see Aunt Chu, and fortuitously, you now require someone to care for you." I smiled sweetly and presented another document. "Thus, I have already drafted the concubine agreement for you, mirroring your usual handwriting to ensure no one can discern the difference." Wang Ke emitted a choked sound from his throat, desperately attempting to raise his hand in protest, but could only convulse like a fish out of water. "Tomorrow, I shall fetch Aunt Chu and have her sign the contract for her servitude. Then we shall graciously welcome her into the household as a concubine." I leaned closer to his ear, whispering, "Rest assured, my lord, I am ever so virtuous and shall take excellent care of her." Wang Ke trembled with rage, spitting blood in a fit of fury, splattering me in the process. I clutched that forged concubine agreement, accompanied by a dozen rough servant women, as I made my way to Bamboo Leaf Alley in the western part of the city. Upon arriving at the small courtyard, I immediately instructed two of the servants to pound on the door. "Who is it?" came a frightened voice from within. "We are from the Marquis's household, here to escort Aunt Chu back," the servant shouted. The door creaked open slightly, revealing a small maid, her expression one of terror. You have the wrong place." However, I had no intention of arguing with such a lowly maid and barged in forcefully. Inside the courtyard, a woman clad in a pomegranate red dress was hurriedly attempting to hide inside. I dashed forward, seizing her wrist. "Sister Chu, where do you think you're going?" Chu Yuling's face turned pale. "Madam, you have mistaken me for someone else." "Mistaken?" I extracted the marriage certificate from my sleeve, brandishing it before her eyes. "This is the Marquis's own handwritten certificate, clearly detailing your registered address and birth date."
"How could there be a mistake?"
This is impossible." Chu Yuling gasped at the information inscribed on the certificate. "Why is it impossible? You are the concubine kept outside by the Marquis and rightfully belong in the Marquis's household. The Marquis, now bedridden and unable to speak, cannot deny the written agreement. I am here to escort you back, for the Marquis has been yearning for you dearly." With a glance, I signaled my servants, who promptly seized her, one on either side. "No, it's not like that. The Marquis promised me." The unwilling Chu Yuling struggled fiercely. "What did he promise you? To marry you after you poisoned me?" I gazed at her with keen interest and at her shocked expression. I called for the contract.
"No."
"I won't sign." Realizing my intention, Chu Yuling fought with all her might. "But you have no choice. A concubine-s arrangement necessitates signing a contract, does it not? Or do you wish for me to report you for colluding with a married man and poisoning the legitimate wife, leading to your exile in the northern frontier to serve those rough soldiers?" I scrutinized her steadily. Ultimately, under the weight of my questioning, she collapsed to the ground, trembling and speechless. I took her hand and pressed it onto the contract with a vivid red seal. "That's right." Satisfied, I secured the contract and instructed Cui Lu, "Help Aunt Chu gather her belongings, leaving nothing behind." Cui Lu, along with a group of servants, rushed inside, rummaging through every corner. Shortly thereafter, They emerged with several property deeds and a box of jewelry. Observing the valuable items, I thought, splendid. Wang Ke has indeed transported many exquisite treasures here over the years. Alas, these possessions are now mine. In the fearful gaze of Chu Yuling, I commanded Cui Lu to summon the appraiser, selling these items along with a small courtyard for 5,000 taels of silver. Then, I silenced Chu Yuling and stuffed her into a pink sedan chair, setting off back to the Marquis's residence. Upon our arrival, Wang Huiqin, my stepson, rushed over, having heard the news. Mother, I heard father has taken a concubine? Wang Huiqin, perspiring and visibly anxious, glanced at the pink sedan chair behind me. Indeed, I replied with a beaming smile. This Aunt Chu is your father's concubine kept outside. Given your father's illness, as the lady of the house, it falls to me to bring her back to serve him. Wang Huiqin's face paled. This is not in accordance with the rules. Rules? You have the audacity to speak of rules? I scoffed, delivering a sharp slap across his face, my tone fierce. Wang Huiqin, have you studied to no avail? You, the legitimate son, are concerned about your father's concubine? What kind of rules are those? Wang Huiqin clutched his reddened cheek, momentarily rendered speechless. At that moment, the servants assisted Chu Yuling down from the sedan chair. Upon seeing her, Wang Huiqin's eyes filled with tears. Mother! Mother! It's Aunt. I fixed my gaze on the teary-eyed Chu Yuling, then cast a glance at the aggrieved Wang Huiqin. Huiqin, there are distinctions between legitimate and illegitimate children. Do not confuse the rules. Wang Huiqin stammered, struggling to articulate, Aunt. Upon hearing this address, Chu Yuling nearly fainted. I sneered, my words piercing her heart. Aunt Chu is merely a purchase servant. Her entering the Marquis's household is already an immense fortune. Huiqin, as a legitimate son, you should treat her as merely an elder servant from now on. Wang Huiqin bit his lip, bowing his head in submission. I understand. Good. I patted his shoulder, my tone softening. Go pay respects to your father. He seems in good spirits today and has been mentioning you. Watching Wang Huiqin stumble away, I couldn't help but smile. The act of killing two birds with one stone is simply exquisite. A month after Chu Yuling was brought into the residence, winter arrived. As instructed, the household treated Aunt Chu with the utmost severity regarding her food, clothing, and necessities. In such a short span of time, she visibly withered. As the harsh winter loomed, the delicate and precious Chu Yuling inevitably caught a cold. With a heart full of maternal concern, Wang Huiqin hurriedly sought me out. I heard, Mother, that you have placed Aunt Chu in the most secluded room of the west courtyard, and even denied her sufficient coal for warmth? Wang Huiqin rushed in, his expression fraught with anxiety. I slowly closed the ledger, lifting my gaze towards him with a piercing intensity. What is this? A legitimate son like you, meddling in your father's concubine's provisions? His face instantly stiffened, lips trembling. I merely thought that I, as the matriarch, was being too harsh on her? A mocking laugh escaped my lips, laced with derision. The sweat on his forehead increased, his eyes flickering nervously. Mother, you have always been the most virtuous. I am merely concerned about how this might tarnish your reputation. With a resounding slap, I struck the table, delivering another blow to his face, my tone severe. Wang Huiqin, are you blinded by foolishness? Your father is ill, and instead of attending to his needs, you fixate on a concubine? Do you harbor some clandestine feelings for her? Mother, I do not, I simply. His face paled, unable to articulate a single coherent thought. As a legitimate son, you should understand the distinctions of rank. Since you cannot justify your actions, go to the ancestral hall and kneel there, contemplating the principles of propriety. I offered him no chance to defend himself, summoning 2 servants to escort him away. I ordered that during his period of kneeling, no food should be brought to him. Subsequently, I summoned Cui Lu, instructing her. The household has worked hard these days. Take 20 taels of silver to treat the maids and servants to a hearty meal. Ensure they understand the eldest son's concern for his stepmother. The maid acknowledged my command, and Cui Lu departed. Satisfied, I resumed my study of the ledger. Yet, before I could peruse 2 pages, Wang Fulwan, draped in a white fox fur and holding a warming stove, sauntered in, her waist swaying gracefully. She casually settled beside me, her face adorned with an ingratiating smile. Mother, I hope you are well. I have come to pay my respects. What brings you here today? I donned a warm smile, gently scrutinizing my obedient and charming stepdaughter. She is the daughter I have diligently nurtured, yet in the end, she proves to be a treacherous wolf in sheep-esque clothing. Wang Fulwan affectionately linked her arm through mine, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Mother, when is my marriage to the Shin family set to take place? What dowry have you prepared for me? What is our dear Fulwan impatient? I set down my pen, teasing her deliberately. Rest assured, as you have called me mother, I will surely plan everything for you. Given your father's illness, we must choose an auspicious date. Wang Fulwan pouted, playfully testing me. But what about the dowry? Are you worried that I might shortchange you? I patted her hand and turned to retrieve a list of dowries from the antiquities shelf, presenting it to her. Look, this is all prepared for you by your mother, ensuring that our Fulwan will have a splendid wedding. Wang Fulwan eagerly accepted it, her eyes widening in delight, her face brimming with joy. After all, the list contained exquisite treasures, shops on Zhuke Street, 100 acres of water fields in the outskirts of the capital, invaluable shoe brocade, and a complete set of fine headpieces. Mother, are these truly for me? Wang Fulwan stammered in excitement. Of course, you are my beloved daughter. Naturally, all my treasures are reserved for you. I did not miss the glint of greed in Wang Fulwan's eyes, but I feigned an even more amiable demeanor. I have also heard that there is a pair of Ru Kiln beauty vases in your dowry. Could they be for my daughter as well? Wang Fulwan's greed intensified. Certainly. I nod with a smile. And what of the golden Namma landscape screen? You shall have that too. Mother desires to give you 1,000 taels of gold as a wedding gift, ensuring that you are provided with all the dignity you deserve. I gazed at the self-satisfied Wang Fulwan, my smile growing ever warmer. After all, when one departs from this world, not even 1,000,000 taels of gold would be beyond my means to burn. Wang Fulwan, hearing my string of affirmations, beamed with delight, her grin wide and gleeful. Thank you, Mother. I knew you loved me the most. I smiled. The items I prepared are indeed splendid. Yet these riches, while lavish, may well be treasures she will never live to enjoy. As the weather warmed in February, following the flower festival, another woman claiming to be Wang Kei's concubine appeared at the door of the Marquis's residence, cradling a crying infant. Passers-by gathered around, gossiping about the Marquis's household, and I, with a grim expression, hurriedly ordered the woman to be brought inside, also summoning Wang Huijin, the legitimate son of the Marquis. Upon entering the flower hall, the woman fell to her knees before me, weeping profusely. Madam, I beseech you to take pity on a lowly woman. The child I hold is of the Marquis's blood. I have come to acknowledge my lineage. I gently stroked the prayer beads in my hand, quietly assessing the woman before me. What is your name? When did you have relations with the Marquis? My surname is Sun. I was originally a wine seller from the West City. The woman bowed respectfully, her voice soft. Last April, during the Shaanxi festival, the Marquis often came to drink, and one time, he became drunk. I interrupted her. Do you have any proof? Sun produced a jade pendant from her bosom, presenting it to me with reverence. This is the very token the Marquis gifted me after our encounter. I examined it closely. Indeed, it was the pendant Wang Kei often wore. I then inquired in detail about Wang Kei's distinguishing features, to which Sun responded without hesitation. Thus, under Wang Huijin's astonished gaze, I gladly accepted Sun and her child, generously naming the boy Wang Huiyu. I then instructed Cui Lu to take Sun to the east courtyard for proper accommodation. Just as Sun left, an indignant Wang Huijin erupted into a commotion. Mother, I find this matter highly suspicious. The child bears no resemblance to my father.
What do you mean by that?
I shot a glance at the aggrieved Wang Huijin, beginning with sarcasm. Huijin, you are not a child anymore. Your words must be substantiated with reason. I have been your father's wife for half a lifetime. Do you think I am unaware of any birthmarks he might have? Wang Huijin fell silent, mumbling for a moment before finally managing, but I just feel that Sun is rather frivolous, and I fear someone might muddy the waters and disrupt the Marquis's bloodline. Is this something you should be saying? Get out. I slammed the table, pointing at him as I scolded him again. Wang Huijin, as a legitimate son, why do you fixate on your father's concubine? What are you truly thinking? Wang Huijin, already fearful, turned pale from my reprimand and hurriedly retreated. In the following half-month, Wang Huijin appeared increasingly anxious. Each morning and evening, he would murmur a few words in my ear. "Mother, that child does not cry like father. Mother, son is dressed up so attractively today." She was speaking with the young servants. "Mother, I heard son used to be a wine seller with a reputation for being a temptress." I maintained a cold demeanor, rebuking his unfounded suspicions while simultaneously showing increasing fondness for Wang Huiyu, the illegitimate son. Seeing that his whispers bore no fruit, Wang Huijin became even more desperate. According to the reports from the servant I had placed close to him, his gaze remained fixated on the east courtyard, and he foolishly bribed a maidservant around Sun, determined to catch her in the act. Meanwhile, I discreetly spread word that Wang Huijin, after his father fell ill, had neglected his filial duties. Instead obsessively watching over the young and beautiful stepmother, subtly guiding his reputation towards treachery. Time flew by, and one night, Wang Huijin received a message from a maid, claiming that Sun was meeting with a young servant. Fueled by drink, he rushed off to catch them in the act. I swiftly gathered a group of people and hastened towards the eastern courtyard. As I reached the entrance, I was met with the piercing screams of Aunt Sun from within. "Young master, what are you doing? Break down the door." My face was clouded with fury as I commanded the servant to force the door open. Upon its opening, I beheld Wang Huijin gripping Aunt Sun's wrist, his face flushed with urgency. Meanwhile, Aunt Sun was desperately struggling, her hair disheveled, her clothing partially undone, weeping profusely like a wilting flower, utterly helpless. Anyone witnessing this scene would perceive a man attempting to coerce a young and beautiful woman. "Madam, please. You must intercede on my behalf," Aunt Sun implored, kneeling at my feet, tears streaming down her face. I was merely preparing for bed when, unexpectedly, the young master barged into my courtyard, tore at my clothing, and insisted on forcing himself upon me. "Mother, this vile woman is speaking nonsense. It is she who is unfaithful. I came to catch her in the act." Seeing my displeased countenance, Wang Huijin shuddered, sobering up significantly. "Mother, mother." I did not grant him an opportunity for defense, but swiftly delivered a resounding slap, causing him to weep in anguish. "How could you, after all my years of careful nurturing, bring such shame upon our noble family? To have a son of the Marquis engage in such beastly conduct is a disgrace to the Wang lineage." I gently dabbed my tears with a handkerchief, enduring the pain as I commanded, "Cui Lu, go inform the Marquis of this incident and summon the clan elder." Shortly after, Cui Lu rushed back, flustered. "Madam." Upon hearing this, the Marquis was so enraged that he spat blood and has already passed away. The room fell into a deathly silence, and Wang Huijin turned ashen, collapsing to the ground. I took a deep breath, suppressing a smile that threatened to escape, and feigned a heartbroken demeanor. "Ah, truly, my dear son, you have caused your biological father to perish, sullied your stepmother. You have brought disgrace upon the Marquis household." Wang Huijin suddenly lunged at me, clutching my leg. "Mother." I realized my mistakes.
Please save me.
"Prepare for the funeral first, then send someone to summon the clan elder," I coldly added as I looked down at the crumpled Wang Huijin. "As for this beast, bind him, gag him, and confine him to the ancestral hall until the clan elder arrives to decide his fate." Stepping out of the courtyard, the night breeze caressed my face, and I felt a profound sense of satisfaction. The performance was finally reaching its climax. The following day, as dawn broke, the elders of the Wang clan arrived one after another in the main hall, each bearing a grave expression. I sat at the head of the table, clutching a handkerchief, my eyes swollen. I presented myself as the picture of despair. "Dear uncles," I choked on my words, "the family has suffered a misfortune, resulting in this disgraceful incident." The third uncle, leaning on his cane, wore a solemn face. "Niece-in-law, we have all heard the news. Poor Huijin." I wiped away the non-existent tears from the corners of my eyes. His actions are indeed beastly and have driven his biological father to his grave. Though his biological mother cannot condone such a defiant and unruly wretch. The second uncle slammed the table in indignation. This beast should be cast out from the family. Just then, a commotion erupted outside. Chu Yuling burst in, her hair in disarray, and fell to her knees. "Madam, esteemed clan elders, I beseech you to show mercy." Huijin was merely confused in the moment. I maintained a serious demeanor. Aunt Chu, this wretched creature, once coveted your beauty. Your defense of him raises suspicion regarding your intentions. Chu Yuling's complexion paled at my words, a flicker of determination crossing her eyes as she looked up defiantly. Madam, you cannot cast him away. He is the Marquis's only son. Only son?
I scoffed. What do you mean by that?
Chu Yuling clenched her teeth, as if resolved to reveal a secret. Huaijin is my flesh and blood. Madam, you have no right to expel him. The hall erupted into chaos. The third uncle's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you say?
Chui Ulang wept bitterly.
Years ago, the Marquis, fearing your sadness, exchanged my child for you to raise. Huaijin is indeed the Marquis's only true offspring. I regarded her coldly. Chu Yuling, do you understand the crime of slandering the lady of the house? She held her head high. I do not dare to lie. Very well, I once thought my failure to educate my child was the issue. Yet it appears there is a scandal of substituting a legitimate child with an illegitimate one. I nodded, turning to Cui Lu. Send someone with my name card to report this to the authorities. Chu Yuling's expression changed. Madam, I looked down upon her. Since you claim Huaijin is your own, let the officials determine whose child he truly is. Within an hour, the officials from the capital's judicial office arrived, escorting Chu Yuling and our party to the courthouse. Chu Yuling knelt on the ground, still crying out, Your Honor, please see clearly. Huaijin is truly my child with the Marquis. The magistrate, Lord Lu, furrowed his brow as he glanced at me. Marquis's wife this. Your Honor, this Chu claims her son was delivered by the midwife Zhang from Jia Alley. That midwife is a registered official physician. Perhaps we should summon her for questioning, I replied. Soon, the midwife Zhang was brought in, but her words left everyone stunned. Your Honor, though this Chu was the Marquis's concubine, when the Marquis was absent, she often consorted with a scholar surnamed Chen, and her son was conceived during that time. Chu Yuling turned pale with terror and screamed, Nonsense. This is slander. The old woman does not dare to lie. The midwife Zhang's eyes flickered with guilt, tears streaming down her face. Your Honor, back then, my ungrateful son was a gambler. Owing Chu's cousin 800 taels of gambling debt, and facing the prospect of selling his own child, I was threatened by Chu to cooperate in her deceit. I had no choice but to comply. Later, I learned that the so-called debt was merely a scheme devised by Chu to manipulate me. That so-called cousin of Chu is none other than her paramour, the scholar Chen. During my care for Chu during her confinement, I had secretly concealed a letter. A love letter she had written to the scholar Chen, clearly documenting their affair. The letter was presented, and Lord Lu immediately ordered an examination of the handwriting. As the situation unfolded, Chu Yuling, realizing she had no defense left, turned ashen. Woman Chu Yuling, lacking in marital virtue, engaging in adultery and confusing the noble bloodline, according to the law, shall be branded and tattooed, reduced to a servant, and exiled to the northern frontier. Lord Lu announced the verdict for Chu Yuling. I glanced at Wang Huaijin, who was trembling in terror behind me, and pressed on. Your Honor, there is also this wretch who impersonated my son. I implore you to punish him severely. Lord Lu cast a glance at Wang Huaijin before continuing with his judgment. Wang Huaijin, impersonating a noble relative, disrupting the household, causing the death of an elder, and multiple offenses shall be punished cumulatively, according to the law. He shall be stripped of his title, receive 50 lashes, and be exiled to the northern frontier. Wang Huaijin suddenly thrashed about. No, I am a scholar. I have a title. You cannot. According to the law of the dynasty, the child born of infidelity cannot participate in the imperial examination. I have hereby stripped you of your title, Lord Lu sneered, tossing a judgment document before Wang Huaijin. A guard struck him on the leg, and he let out a cry, collapsing to the ground. I observed coldly until the mother and son were dragged out of the hall like defeated dogs, then turned to the onlookers with tearful apologies. The family has suffered misfortune. I beg for your understanding. Faced with my sorrowful countenance, the others could only sigh in consolation. I sighed in relief within. The northern frontier is harsh and cold, but with my arrangements, Chu Yuling and her son are destined not to survive 3 years. My son, I have avenged you at last. 08. The funeral of Wang Ke had just concluded when Wang Fuwan urgently sought me out. Mother. Her voice trembled with tears, her eyes red from weeping. Father has just passed. I should not speak of this, but the marriage with the Shin family. I set down my teacup, inwardly amused by her impatience. However, I maintained an impassive facade and sighed. Indeed, according to custom, you must observe a 3-year mourning period. Upon hearing this, Wang Fuwan anxiously twisted her handkerchief, stamping her foot. However, young Master Shen has already reached the age of 23. Should we wait 3 more years? He may well marry another. Observing her expression, I felt both amused and exasperated, and I gently patted her hand in reassurance. Do not fret, my dear, for I have my own plans. Her eyes sparkled with sudden excitement. What does mother mean? I replied, I shall soon send an invitation to Madame Shen, proposing a day for a personal meeting. Madame Shen and I share a close friendship, and I am certain we can devise a mutually beneficial solution. I feigned a mysterious tone as I lowered my voice. Wang Fuwan's face lit up with joy, and she hurriedly thanked me before departing in high spirits. Watching her retreating figure, I smiled calmly. This is my cherished daughter, raised by my own hand. How could I be unaware of her true nature? She is vain and ambitious, eagerly seeking to marry into the Shin family, drawn by the allure of their noble lineage and the esteemed status of young Master Shin. Given her position as a concubine's daughter from a marquise, this would already be a splendid match. But what if someone of even more illustrious background and higher status were to take an interest in her? Before I resolved to deal with this ungrateful child, I had already conferred with Madame Shen. She proposed a scheme, mentioning a distant, fallen noble nephew of hers, who is handsome and adept at charming women. The following morning, an invitation from the Shin family arrived at the marquise, inviting us to the Plum Blossom Temple on the 8th day of the month to offer incense. Wang Fuwan held the invitation, her face beaming with delight. 3 days later, we arrived at the Plum Blossom Temple. Madame Shen approached us, her gaze sweeping over Wang Fuwan with a smile of praise. Is this Fuwan? She has grown even more exquisite. Wang Fuwan, shy yet eager, bowed, but her eyes were already searching for her future husband, Shin Zhuoran. I have some matters to discuss with your mother. Your brother Zhuoran is enjoying the view at the pavilion on the back hill. Why don't you 2 children take a stroll together? After some pleasantries, Madame Shin took the initiative to suggest. Upon hearing this, Wang Fuwan joyfully dashed toward the back hill. The incense offering lasted until the afternoon, and on our way home, Wang Fuwan remained in a daze, her gaze wandering, clearly still immersed in the joy of meeting the nobleman we had arranged for her. I closed my eyes to rest, contemplating my next steps. For the following half-month, under the guise of leisure, Wang Fuwan frequently visited the marquise. Each time, she adorned herself in splendid attire, her demeanor more radiant with each visit. When I broached the subject of the marriage with the Shin family, she hesitated. Mother, I no longer wish to marry young Master Shin. Her voice trembled. Mother, on the day we visited Plum Blossom Temple, I met a nobleman. I feigned surprise. What happened? She twisted her handkerchief, excitedly proclaiming, He is the son of Prince Ning from the northwest. He said he fell in love with me at first sight. I darkened my expression and sternly admonished, Nonsense. You are already betrothed. Wang Fuwan, desperate, stamped her foot, her eyes filled with longing. Mother, the son of Prince Ning said he would wait for me to break off the engagement. He even said he wishes to marry me as his legitimate wife. I fixed my gaze upon her, gravely stating, Do you comprehend the gravity of this? She fell to her knees, pleading earnestly. I beg you, mother. Young Master Shen is merely the youngest son of a marquise. How can he compare to a prince? With a long sigh, I relented. Very well, rise, and allow me time to contemplate this matter. Sensing my wavering stance, in the subsequent days, Wang Fuwan began to incessantly whisper in my ear, repeatedly describing the grandeur of the Ning Palace and the deep affection the prince held for her, persistently pleading for me to annul her engagement with the Shen family. Ultimately, I could no longer withstand her desperate entreaties and took the initiative to invite Madame Shen to formally break the engagement. Heartbroken, young Master Shen soon sought a position in a distant locale, leaving to serve as an official. Freed from the shackles of her engagement, Wang Fuwan grew increasingly brazen in her interactions with the prince. Yet, the son of Prince Ning confided in her his family's intentions to select a more distinguished noblewoman as his consort. Alarmed at the prospect of losing the title of princess, Wang Fuwan became distressed. Thus, when the prince spoke of his family's dwindling offspring and their longing for grandchildren, promising that if Wang Fuwan were to conceive, they would surely support their union, the infatuated Wang Fuwan ultimately succumbed to the prince's advances. Recently, Wang Fuwan had been lethargic, often requesting leave from her morning and evening duties. One morning, she approached me with a pale face to pay her respects. But as soon as she sat down, she began to retch. Although I was already aware of the situation, I feigned ignorance and expressed concern. "What troubles you, Wanner? Would you like me to summon a doctor?" She hastily waved her hand. No need. I merely caught a chill last night." "Is that so? Then you must ask the household physician for a prescription. Take your medicine and recover swiftly," I said, holding her hand kindly. "In a few days, it will be your father's memorial. The entire household depends on me, and I am overwhelmed with tasks. I hope you can lend me a hand." "But I have not learned these matters," she replied nervously. "What is there to fear? One day, you too shall marry and become the mistress of a household. These are skills you must acquire." I spoke gently, not allowing her the chance to refuse. "The memorial is a significant event for the Wang family, and all relatives from the Marquis will be present. If you were to reveal an unwed pregnancy at that time, it would bring great shame upon the Wang family." On the day of the memorial, as I was discussing arrangements with the female relatives in the flower hall alongside Wang Fuwan, she suddenly began to retch after sipping some sour plum tea. "What is the matter?" I remarked, noticing her pallor. One of the distant relatives spoke first. "I notice her complexion seems off." Another aunt of my generation, subtly glancing at Wang Fuwan's abdomen, suggested, "We should call for a doctor." In the ensuing chatter, Wang Fuwan grew increasingly frightened, her face turning ashen. As the matriarch, I naturally had to show concern for my daughter, so I immediately summoned a doctor. He arrived quickly, and after taking her pulse, he wore an odd expression. "Madam, the second miss is with child." "What nonsense are you spouting? My daughter is still unmarried. In seclusion. How can there be talk of pregnancy?" I feigned outrage, pointing at the doctor and scolding him sternly. "Sister, do not be angry. This is likely a quack misdiagnosing. Dr. Liu from the south of the city has excellent skills. Perhaps I should fetch him." A conspiratorial aunt chimed in. "Indeed, Sister Dr. Zhou from Rinxin Hall is also highly skilled. Dr. Wei from the Wei Family Clinic just retired from the palace." Everyone chimed in, recommending various physicians. To prove my daughter's innocence, I naturally invited them all. Soon, these doctors arrived and all confirmed the pregnancy. The female relatives exchanged glances, and I, devastated, stared at the terrified Wang Fuwan, weeping uncontrollably. The elders of the clan began to reproach Wang Fuwan. "Quickly, tell us, who is the father? How could you cause such a scandal? You have brought disgrace upon the Wang family with such audacity. Look at how distressed your mother is, you unfilial daughter." At that moment, a commotion erupted from outside. "Madam, a stableman claiming to be from the Ning Palace insists on seeing the second miss." Wang Fuwan's face turned ashen. I frowned. What sort of ruffian dares to cause a scene at the Marquis? "Throw him out."
Wait.
A rugged man burst in, waving a pink belly band. "Miss, you cannot turn your back on me." Upon recognizing the object, Wang Fuwan screamed, "You, what nonsense are you spouting?" The man grinned broadly, revealing a set of yellow teeth. "Miss, have you forgotten? Last month, on the back mountain of the Plum Blossom Temple, you explicitly promised to return to the northwest with me." The eldest of the clan, my great-aunt, suddenly stood up in astonishment. "What on earth is happening?" The man shook the pouch in his hand. "This is the token of love bestowed upon me by the second miss. Now that she is with child, I have come to propose." The hall erupted into a cacophony of voices. Wang Fuwan's face turned ashen, her body swayed, and she fainted. The clan members began to murmur, and my great-uncle slammed the table in outrage. "Misfortune has befallen our family." I maintained a composed expression and commanded that the second miss be carried back to her chamber. Once the crowd dispersed, Cui Lu whispered, "The groom has taken his silver and departed." I nodded and went to prepare a bowl of medicinal soup. When Wang Fuwan regained consciousness, I was already seated by her bedside. She recoiled in terror. "Mother." "Wanner, you have disappointed me gravely," I sighed. looking at her with deep sorrow. It is one thing to be naive in discerning people, but to commit such a disgraceful act is inexcusable. Now the clan is furious, and everyone accuses me of being a negligent mother. I can no longer protect you. Drink this medicine. You shall be sent to the family temple tomorrow. She caught sight of the concoction in the bowl and screamed, retreating.
No.
Mother, I beg you. I signaled to two robust maids, who stepped forward to restrain her.
Wanna.
I grasped her chin and forced the medicine down her throat. If you dare to act, you must also dare to bear the consequences. Not long after the potion was consumed, she curled up in pain. I stood by the bed, watching coldly until the bedding beneath her became stained red. The following morning, I personally accompanied her to the carriage. Her face was pale, her grip on my sleeve tight. Mother, I know I was wrong. Please don't send me away. I pried open her fingers one by one. The family temple is serene, perfect for self-cultivation. As the carriage grew distant, Cui Lu softly remarked, Madam, rest assured. Everything has been arranged at the family temple, and they will take good care of the young lady. I gazed at the rising dust and spoke softly. Remember to inform those in charge that the young lady is frail and must be given extra tasks to strengthen her constitution. Upon returning to the courtyard, I opened the bridal chest and retrieved a yellow dowry list, slowly tearing it into shreds. You wish to claim my dowry? Perhaps in your next life. A month later, on a clear morning, as Cui Lu entered with tea, I leaned against the window, reviewing the account books. Madam, she said softly, we have received word from the northern frontier. Without lifting my gaze, I instructed her to read it aloud. She unfolded the letter. The fugitive Chu and his son Wang Huiqin succumbed to a plague on the 20th of last month at the garrison. My pen paused. A drop of ink fell onto the account book, spreading into a dark blot. Understood. I closed the account book. Is there any news from the family temple? Cui Lu lowered her voice. Since the young lady arrived there, she has been fetching water and chopping firewood continuously, bleeding profusely. The doctor fears she will not survive the month. I took a sip of tea. Send more silver to the residence. Ensure she receives an additional bowl of ginseng soup each day, lest anyone accuse me of treating her harshly. Although she cannot consume ginseng after this month due to the risk of weakness, that is of little importance. What truly matters is that others perceive my benevolence and generosity. 10 days later, news of her passing came from the family temple. Wang Fuwan collapsed while chopping firewood and never regained consciousness. I went to take a final look at her. She had become emaciated, her fingers rough and cracked, devoid of the grace of a noble lady. Provide her with a grand burial, I said, turning to leave with an indifferent tone. Lay her beside her father. Just as I returned to the Marquis's residence, I was informed that Madame Shin had sent a message, wishing to visit the following day. On the morrow, as Madame Shin entered, she grasped my hand eagerly. Sister Rome, you have finally avenged yourself. I poured her tea. Thanks to your assistance. She leaned closer, whispering, Sister. I heard from my brother that the Emperor has recently been investigating the estates of the noble families. You should prepare accordingly. Madame Shin's brother, a promising young man, had already entered the cabinet at the age of 40, so her words could not be taken lightly. After bidding farewell to Madame Shin, I promptly instructed Cui Lu to summon Concubine Sun and her child. When Concubine Sun entered, cradling her baby, her face was filled with trepidation.
Madame I gæsttid for her 2 set.
Do not fear. Good fortune awaits. She produced a stack of banknotes and 2 new household registrations from her sleeve, presenting them to me. This is the reward I promised you, 5,000 taels, sufficient for you and your child to settle in Jiangnan. Concubine Sun's eyes widened. Madam, there will be a great fire tomorrow, I said softly. I will arrange for someone to take you out of the capital. She looked at me with concern. Thank you for your kindness, madam. Without your help, I fear my family would have drowned in the pond. You need not worry about me. I will only ensure my own safety. I gently touched the sleeping child, my tone warm. Remember, do not trust men's sweet words again. You and your child shall live well in Jiangnan. That night, indeed, a fire broke out in the side courtyard. By the time it was extinguished, only 2 charred bodies were found. With reddened eyes, I addressed the clan elders. Just as the Marquis departed, our household has encountered such calamity. My great-uncle sighed. Such is fate. 3 days later, I took the initiative to submit a request to the palace, seeking an audience with the emperor. The Yongning Marquisate has no heir. Ding. Petition your majesty to revoke the Yongning Marquis title and reclaim 2/3 of its estates for the national treasury. Before the emperor, I laid out my intentions. As he perused my memorial, he seemed contemplative. The Marquis's wife is indeed sensible. With no heirs, it would be unwise to retain the title. I spoke earnestly. Your Majesty's virtue is evident, practicing frugality for the sake of the world. Though I may be of lowly origin, I shall strive to emulate your example, exercising diligence and thrift. The emperor pondered for a moment. If that is the case, I grant your request. I shall bestow upon you the title of Lady Ingua, with a third-rank stipend. I bowed deeply. Thank you, your Majesty, for your great favor. As I exited the palace, Cui Lu assisted me into the carriage, quietly asking, Madam, what are our plans moving forward? I gazed up at the azure sky and smiled. Having lost both my husband and child, I am naturally engulfed in sorrow. I have heard the peach blossoms in Jiangnan are in full bloom, a perfect time for self-cultivation. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to our next tale.